Lisa said she's on a,
I don't believe she's coming.
she just texted.
Oh, she.
Chris. Welcome to the June 18th Board of Education meeting for Coventry Local Schools. I'd like to call this meeting to order. Is there a motion? I didn't call it roll first. Call it roll? I don't know. I don't remember.
We don't have to do a motion to open the meeting. Roll call, Mr. Bowser.
Here.
Mr. Davis.
Here.
Ms. McGraw.
Yes, here.
Mr. Hostetler here. Ms. Spaff.
Yeah.
All right, the stand for the pledge. I pledge allegiance
To the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Is there a motion to adopt the meeting agenda?
So moved.
Second.
We'll second it, but I have one thing. I've talked to Lisa Blower there today about removing the B, her treasurer recommendation for B for the personnel items. That's the recommendation to executive assistant. Just remove that from the agenda.
Okay. Mhm.
I did. Is that under the treasurer section?
Yes,
Section-
to be,
I did not.
Okay.
Section B, number B, section B of the Treasurer's Department, there's a personnel recommendation to hire an executive assistant for the Treasurer's Department.
Yes.
So there needs to be more discussion about that.
So we're gonna remove it from the agenda for tonight.
Oh, okay,
That's the
so it's
proposal.
removed from the agenda
That's the proposal. Yeah.
or the table. What is that? Is there a difference?
Just gonna be removed for tonight.
Okay.
Yeah.
Okay.
And then we're also going to add, I would add the executive.
yeah, that's kind of already on there.
Yeah, it's fine.
Formalize it, then we have to be.
We are also going to add an executive session after the meeting. Just needs to be noted. And then for another action taken after that. Anything else? All right.
Okay, Mr. Bowser,
Yes.
Mr. Davis.
Yes.
Ms. McGraw.
Yes.
Me, yes. Ms. Spaff.
Yes.
All right, is there an approval of the minutes? At one meeting from last year, last meeting. Last one. An approval of the meeting minutes from the May meeting. Motion to approve.
So moved.
I'll second that. Is there any discussion on those meeting minutes?
Mr. Bowser,
Yes.
Mr. Davis,
Yes.
Ms. McGraw,
Yes.
me, yes. And Ms. Spaff.
Yes.
For this month, since we're into the summer for our district report, we've invited Jason Dodson, who's going to give you an update on the Waternine housing development in our community, and then take any questions that you may have. Mr. Dodson. Thank you.
These are copies of documents that everybody probably has. I sent them over to the superintendent.
You have a, do you have a half?
Yeah. so- And here, where you guys, perfect, perfect. As the superintendent said, my name is Jason Dodson. I'm with the law firm of Rutzel and Andrus, and represent Adkins PLX Holdings, which is the owner of what is now known as Turkey Foot Golf Course. I know we met a few months ago just to talk a little bit about the TIF. Wanted to give you an update of kind of where everything stands right now. I kind of walk through a little bit, again, the details related to the TIF, and then kind of answer any questions that you all may have regarding what we are proposing there. I think actually prior to when we had first met, the city had approved the preliminary plan for the development. It's a 112 unit development, which is gonna be everything from larger single-family homes along the water, coming back to smaller, single-family, kind of low-maintenance, living homes. And then, there's a little bit more than 30 townhomes that make up that development as well. So roughly about a third, and a third between the lakefront, larger homes, the smaller homes off the lake, and then the townhomes in the development. We, I think, spent probably about 8 months working through that process with the city to get that preliminary plan approved. And we are currently working through the process right now of doing the final design for all of the infrastructure in the development, and then putting the final plan together that'll go back to the city's planning commission and ultimately through council as well. And so we anticipate probably about August when we'd have those final drawings done, that would go back and finalize that planning process with the city. The other thing that we've had going on, and we introduced everything to the city, I think it was at the May 7th council meeting, a development agreement between the developer and the city for the development of the property. And under that development agreement, it requires the developer to put in 100% of the infrastructure. So all the road, curb, gutter, sidewalk, street lighting that would be there, as well as water and sewer for the development. Now, that area of New Franklin, the Portage Lakes, does not have sewer and water. The closest sewer and water, the sewer is located up on Main Street by the old drive-in stand up there. And the water's down just east of Main Street, or I'm sorry, west of Main Street on 619. And so both of those would be extended from the Main Street area all the way down the frontage of the golf course to the intersection of 619 and South Turkey Foot Road there, and then extended down Point Comfort into the development and north up South Turkey Foot to do the townhomes that'll be on the northern portion of the development. All told, the cost to install that infrastructure is about was originally $16.5 million. We had included the seawall in that through some negotiation back and forth with the city. The seawall, while the developer is still going to be responsible for putting that in, that's not going to be part of the infrastructure package, if you will. So the total infrastructure cost is about $15.5 million. And we had those numbers updated by the developer, both with the adjusted preliminary plan and with cost increases. They updated those numbers last Thursday. So they're pretty good numbers in terms of recency with construction. The other piece then that the development agreement provides for is it provides for what's called a tax increment financing structure that helps fund the infrastructure for the development. And if you look at the revised code, the code section is 5709.40. And we would create what are called two incentive districts. And one incentive district would be phase one of the development, and the other incentive district would be phases 2 and 3. Phase one is essentially the southern portion of the development, 2 is kind of the central portion, and then 3 is north of 619. Within those incentive districts, then anything that's built within the incentive district, so those 112 homes, the taxes that would accrue on those properties, the property owners, rather than paying them as property taxes, pay what's called a service payment in lieu of taxes. It will be the exact same amount, and I apologize, we were golfing today, and so I'm like sunburned and I'm like incredibly hot with a jacket on. So in any event, the property owners within the development, they'll pay the same amount on their tax bill, but rather than the tax bill being distributed to all of the taxing subdivisions, the amount that they pay it's paid as a service payment, and it goes into a TIF fund that's maintained by the city. That TIF fund then could be used for, in this situation, 3 things and 3 things only. One, to make certain compensation payments back to the school district, and we'll talk about that here in a minute. The second thing is to pay for the cost of the infrastructure. And the third thing is there is a small amount that would go to the city to essentially keep them whole on their fire levy. The rest of the money that the city would ordinarily receive it's gonna give that up, so it would only keep the fire levy portion. And that's where, as we talked with the administration, where we kind of came up with the 55-45 formula that kind of goes through the entire development. So for the school district, what we have proposed is that the school district would receive 55% of the taxes that it otherwise would have received if the TIF did not happen at all. And from a dollar amount perspective, that is $528,000 annually that the school district would get even with the TIF in place. Now, the question has, the question that we've talked about with the city quite a bit is, if the development were not to occur, or if we did not have a TIF, what would the developer do? And the simple matter is that there's about 30 acres of land there. The developer would carve that 30 acres up into about 28 homes, is about the number of homes you'd be able to get there. And so we, as we put all of our numbers together, we've run it both as a 38 home or 28 home development, and then as the 112 acre development. And then we've run the tax calculations on both of those developments. If the smaller development is what were to happen, that would generate for the school district $408,000 annually. And which is about $120,000 less than what the school district would get annually with the TIF. Unfortunately, and we've said this in public meetings before, there really isn't for the developer a middle ground there. Thank you, George. There really isn't a middle ground there in terms of doing the smaller development and doing the larger development without as much TIF as we have in the project. From a dollar amount perspective, what we're proposing would give the developer about $10 million in net present value money against that $15.5 million of infrastructure costs. So the developer still has to come up with the other $5.5 million in cost. There's still the seawall, there's a number of environmental remediation issues that have to go into place in order to be able to do the development. All of those are developer side costs. All of those are costs that the developer is not going to recover through the TIF. We put together, both for you all as well as for the city, a number of examples in other communities where these type of developments are happening. And quite frankly, between inflation and the interest rates that we've seen over the last 5 years, developers can't do projects like this without some form of public assistance coming in and helping fund the infrastructure improvements that are being undertaken. And so, we believe that obviously it will help the project move forward. It will help the 112 home project happen. Without the TIF, if that project doesn't go, and we do go with the 30 acre development, not only does the city get less money with that 30 acre development, the school district gets less money with the 30 acre development. We don't have water extended down 619. We don't have sewer extended down 619. And, essentially when our client initially bought the property, that's what he was going to do. And he met with the city, and the city said, hey, we need to be looking at a larger development. And so he went along and said, let's pursue the larger development. And the reason why the city said that is they knew by putting this project in, you would get those utilities extended. You'd have a project that not only by itself is going to be more environmentally friendly for the area, but is ultimately going to be able to have water and sewer go to the other side of the channel and not only allow them to tie in, bring environmental benefits over there, but ultimately drive property values on the west side of the channel as well. And so I think obviously our client, as that additional development occurs, I think they will benefit from it. I think the city will benefit from it. And ultimately, I think the school district benefits from that increased property valuation from everything that would be west of the canal or channel as well. So from our perspective, I'm not a big fan of the win-win-win type of analogy, but certainly, this enables the developer to move forward with the project. It does provide more revenue for the school than the smaller project would. And it does provide more revenue for the city than the smaller project would. And unfortunately, trying to do the larger project without the TIF, either at all or at this level, it just doesn't pencil out and isn't financially feasible, and our client would ultimately have to default to that smaller project. So with that, certainly
Can I ask a
answer any
question?
questions.
Sorry, I have
Sure.
a question. So are we talking about only Coventry School District? Yes,
You're only talking about Coventry School District, and
Okay.
you're only talking about this piece of property.
okay, and are we only talking about the city of New Franklin?
Correct. So the golf
Nothing
course,
involved with the city of Green?
correct. The golf
Okay.
course is divided partly in Coventry, partly into
Yes.
Green. There are 3 lots in the southeast corner of the development that a portion of the backyards of those lots would
Right.
go into Green. Other than that, the entire development is within the city of New Franklin.
So is that going to pull Green in for that little part? Will they be involved in that?
No, so the
Okay.
only from an administrative perspective, there's a provision in the revised code that if a subdivision deals with less than 5 lots, they approve it at an administrative level within the city. So we've had a conversation with Green. They know it's coming. They sign off on the plat, but it doesn't have to run through planning commission or their accounts.
Okay, thank you. I just was unclear about that.
Sure.
So you're actually extending public utilities into a portion of Green though, correct? I mean, sewer and water down South Main Street, that's into Green.
Correct. Correct.
Is there any way for the developer or the district, if Green benefits from that and they're able to hook into water and sewer, in some jurisdictions, you can recoup some of that money as a developer? Is that a possibility?
So right now, if you're at the intersection of 619 and Turkey Foot,
Okay.
you've got the condo complex that's right there. They're already on sewer and water.
Okay.
Everything to the west of that is gonna be served, it is essentially the golf course.
Correct.
And so at some point in time, and Tim has said in public meetings, I've heard him say it privately 100 times. He doesn't have any plan to develop the balance of the golf course. His son's 7 years old, his son, and he play golf all the time. He's not developing the golf course as long as his son is, still golfing there. So at some point in time, theoretically, that water and sewer extension could allow the balance of the golf course to be developed. That said, there was at the county at the time. So I think it was like probably around 2017, give or take a year. There was a court opinion that came out that said developer payback, which is that concept you're talking about, is not constitutional in Ohio. So you can no longer set up something where the developer down here needs to extend a sewer line from up here. And they're gonna pay the cost, and as everybody else ties into it, they have to pay that developer back. Prior to that court decision, that happened all the time. Even existing agreements in place at the time were all struck out. And so you can't do that in the future, and you can't enforce those old agreements.
Okay.
Cause again, was at the county and I got a lot of unhappy calls about folks that thought they were gonna get paid back and didn't get paid back.
Okay.
So.
All right, so the real concern we have is how this is gonna impact the schools, obviously. So we have 40 on water homes approximately,
Yes.
30-ish townhomes on the
Yeah, I
north side.
think you've got 26 north of 619 and you've got, I think we ended up finalizing at 6 south of 619.
Okay,
Yeah.
so 32. All right.
Nine south of 619, I'm sorry.
And the remaining off water lots. Are any of those gonna be like single story condos or cluster homes that might be geared towards like 55 and up? I'm just trying to get a sense of how
Yeah,
many
so-
kids we might potentially.
If you have the drawing there,
Yeah.
all of the homes that are along Point Comfort.
Mhm.
are all gonna be single-story homes that are gonna be what we call maintenance-free living that are targeted towards your 55 and older.
Okay.
And so, as you look at the layout here, you've got the 32 townhomes, which are gonna primarily be targeted towards older individuals. I'm not gonna say you're not gonna have children in there at all. We're obviously not allowed to say only 55 and older, but generally that's what you're gonna see in those. And then in those maintenance-free living ones along Point Comfort, or the low maintenance living ones along Point Comfort, we believe you're gonna have the same folks there. The homes that are gonna be built around the lakefront, those are certainly gonna be large enough that I think you can expect families in those homes. I think the one that is currently being built, my understanding is probably north of $2 million in value. I think, and we've talked with the administration about this a little bit. The reality is some of those folks are probably gonna have private school arrangements for their kids that they're gonna undertake as well. So I think you're gonna pick up some kids from those lots, but I think some lots are gonna go to, whether it's Hoban or Walsh or wherever the kids may go.
I think
But
you're
yeah.
right, but interestingly, on lot 47, that's a Coventry grid there.
Yeah.
There you go.
That'll be built, but
Yeah.
I tend to agree with you. I think they're probably gonna be private schools on the lakefront. So, because really for us, I mean, the break even is like 44 to 45 kids, and then we start to lose money, it seems like. So,
I think the dynamic here is much different than like the Truson Farm development, might do some work over in Barberton. There you're talking about 360,000 square foot or $360,000 homes.
mhm.
You're talking about families that have 2, 3 kids that are gonna be in those homes, and you've got a large number of them. I think the dynamic here with this development is you've got many less units that are gonna have those 2 and 3 kid families, here within this development.
Mhm. Yeah, I just don't see us getting 40 plus kids out of this, so. You know what the current property tax revenue that the school gets off of that?
The entire golf course is $36,000 for all tax and subdivisions.
That's it.
Yeah, so it's not a lot of money at all.
And we're still gonna get a portion of that for the golf course that isn't.
Still, yeah. Yeah, and what, under the proposal that we have right now, so kind of, I guess, from a legal perspective, ultimately what we would ask that the school board vote on, and what one of the things that the city council is voting on this evening that goes along with that development agreement is what's called a compensation agreement. And under that compensation agreement, it says that the school district, in lieu of getting all of the tax revenue you would get, you're agreeing to take blank percent. And we've proposed the 55%. And I think the number was originally 53.5%, because that tracked with that fire district levy of the city. In talking with the treasurer, she said, can we use like round numbers here so that I don't have to worry about trying to carve
How
that
about
out?
60? That's right.
There you go. There you go. More round. So that was, so we kind of increased it to the 55. So that agreement would provide that. The other 2 pieces of that agreement that are important to keep in mind are, to a very small extent, any of the income or any of the property tax revenue you all get now, albeit very small, you would continue to get all of that. You get 100% of that. You also get 100, the way we've drafted the agreement, any new levies that you put in place, any millage that you would get above what you have right now, the school would get 100% of that millage as well. So that would sit outside of the TIF. So if you guys ever have to go and do a new levy or increase one of your existing levies, all of that increase is gonna entirely go to the school district. It would entirely go to the city as well, under the language that we put together.
Does it work with, when would year 1 be that we would be getting the property taxes from that? Like the Truson were delayed, and then it's like a big roll off thing over 15 years.
Yeah, so Truson Farms, so if you think about it from a 13-year perspective, with Truson Farms, because they have a CRA there. They have a 15-year, 100% CRA, so that means the school district gets zero money for the first 15 years. And because of the way, because Truson Farms is in the city of Barberton and there's different rules for different communities. Every home that is built in Truson Farms, the first year it's picked up is the first year in which that happens. So if you've got a 3-year or 4-year lag between when the first home is built and the fourth home is built, that fourth home, it's still a 30-year run where the first 15, the school district gets zero. And then after that, the school district would get, I think it's all, there's not a compensation agreement there, so the school district would get everything that they should get starting in year 16 and going forward. With this development, because New Franklin is not a blighted community, you have to do this as what that incentive district that I referenced earlier. In an incentive district, that 30 years starts on the first year that the first home is picked up for value. So if it takes you 3 or 4 years to build those homes, that home that gets built in year 4 only gets 26% of the TIF. So the school district, under what we're proposing, would get 55% of the revenue that it otherwise would get for 26 years. And then from there on out, it would be 100% of the revenue going forward. And so it's more advantageous with the incentive districts for the schools and for the city, because you only get that 1 30-year window. And that's why we did the 2 different incentive districts, because we know phase 1 is hopefully going to start within the next year. Phase 2 and 3, you're going to have a lag of 1 or 2 years before you would do that. And so there's one I'm working on right now where I think we have 4 incentive districts, because it's a large development that'll happen over time. But that is kind of what you're looking at if we were comparing the 2.
Would that be retroactive? So don't you have a home that's already being built, or is?
That is outside of the development,
It
and
is.
so you guys would get 100% of that value.
And so that's built to completion, but not necessarily sold?
It's the year in which the county picks up the valuation.
Oh.
So it would be built to completion, the first tax year in which it's completed.
So I want to say thank you for pulling out the seawall, because that didn't sit well with me that the district was paying for seawalls.
Seawall,
I think that's-
Yep.
That's a good move. You said,
It was the thing, at the end of the day, we know that the developer is gonna be paying far in excess of what the TIF would generate anyways. And so we said, fine, we'll take that out so that it's not, city council, I think, had a similar concern.
yeah. So you said any new money, we get 100% of.
Correct.
There's currently legislation being proposed where emergency levies are not able to be renewed. And probably 5 million of our funding annually comes from emergency levies. So we're going to have to replace those.
Yep.
Those replacements, do we get 100%?
The way, so what we propose is that anything that is above the current millage, you get 100%. So if you've got a 4 mil levy now, then you replace it with a 4 mil, you'd lock in.
Okay.
If you replace it with a 7 mil, 4 would be covered under the 55% and the other 3 would be the 100%. What I would also tell you is that if the current legislation as proposed were to pass, we will be going back to the drawing. Because not only will we be going back to the drawing board, but for critically, there are hundreds of infrastructure related projects funded this way throughout the state of Ohio, where bonds have already been issued, that this is going to wipe out the repayment source for those bonds, and all of those bonds would go into default immediately. There was 5 of the larger law firms in Ohio sent a letter to the Ways and Means Committee 2 days ago outlining this, here are all the constitutional reasons why you can't do this. But then if you do it, here's the practical effects of, the rating agencies are going to come in and immediately downgrade everybody. The bonds are all going to be technically in default that are connected to anything property tax related, both TIF wise and cops, for example, you've got a big problem there. So, what I would tell you is that if that law passes, we're, we probably are starting over anyways, but what we did in terms of working with the city, and the mayor was personally involved in this, is he wanted to make sure, because they kind of have the same thing on the fire levy. You know, hey, if we go in and we, you know, increase the levy, he wanted to make sure that any money that's quote unquote new money gets the 100% treatment as opposed to the 55% treatment. And if you, in the agreement, there's a section that kind of carves out, here's how much the school gets, here's how much the city gets, here's how much the developer gets, and it's the paragraph right below that. Which is not, if you pull 10 of these or 20 of these, you would not see that in every agreement, but, you know, here we don't, you know, there's no reason why we can't do that, with this development, so it's in there for both the city and the school's benefit.
What if we do something crazy that no other district has ever done and reduce millage on a levy?
Then that would, so, that would, result in a shortfall in terms of the revenue that comes in. One of the ways when you have a TIF, there's one of two things that you can do as the developer. The first one is you just get it as a grant annually, and you know, you go and pay for all your infrastructure costs, you pay for it up front, you're done, and that's all you do. You then just get that money annually back over that stream of 30 years. The other thing you do is what's called monetizing the TIF, and that's when you go to a port authority, have the port authority issue bonds, and you pledge the TIF revenue against those bonds. There is a thing called a minimum service payment that gets then assessed on all of those property owners. And so if the amount of taxes that, you know, when everything gets put in place would generate $5,000 annually to go into the TIF. What happens is if you do bonds, you put a minimum service payment on equal to $5,000. So that if you ever would, you know, whether it's you guys or anybody else would ever go in and lower the millage, you at least have a floor to issue the bonds against. Now, what happens, and we actually, when the developer came to Barberton recently, we kind of went back and forth with the developer on the Truson Farm deal who wanted a minimum service payment that was going to be more than we thought was needed for the bonds and potentially more than what property owners would pay.
Yeah.
And so you set that number lower to kind of take into account that you might have millage go down. And if you look, if you rerun those like spreadsheets from year to year, you know, with the TIF calculation, you'll see the number fluctuate because you have you have millage go up, you have millage go down for different communities. And so, but you set that number at a level that the bond holders and that the underwriters are comfortable with in order to issue against. You don't max it all the way out. So there's some give in there in case that were to happen. But I can't practically tell you where we've actually dealt with the school district reducing the millage for reasons you guys all know better than I do. So.
Any other questions?
No, we're not voting on this tonight.
We are not voting on this tonight.
Okay,
We just
yeah.
we wanted it to be presented, so if people want to watch it and have questions and
Sure.
they might be able to. If they have questions, who should they call?
Feel free to reach out to me. I think I sent my email to George, and George, I think you've got my number as well. Go ahead, you know, feel free to reach out with any questions, concerns, anything like that. More than happy to answer those for you. The city council, I think you all know, is meeting right now. So sometime this evening, we'll know whether in fact they do pass it. If they do, then we would like to move forward with the compensation agreement. If they don't, we'll be back at the drawing board and we'll need to go from there.
When can we expect a copy of that compensation agreement?
I can send it directly to you. I think there's a couple of copies that the
That's all
president.
the information you sent to us last
Correct.
week.
Yep. I can send you over a copy.
That'd be great.
Yep.
The CRA with Truson Farms, like, we didn't have any real say in that at all. So I didn't do all the research about the difference between that and a TIF.
Yeah.
What you're proposing. But do we have to, like, does the school district in this case have to approve the proposal? Like, why are we voting on this?
So, under Ohio law, any TIF that exceeds 10 years and 75% requires school district approval. And what we are proposing is a TIF that's a 30-year TIF for 100%. And then a compensation arrangement back with the school district for a portion of what the school district would receive. Just to be direct about it, if the deal doesn't happen with the TIF, then, our client would not do the 112 unit development. He would proceed with the 28 or 30 unit development. And the reality is, from a dollar figure, with the TIF, even with what we're proposing at the lower amount, it generates $528,000 for the school. If that smaller development generates $408,000 for the school. So it's about $120,000 a year less with that smaller development, even with the TIF in place. And
So if
so,
we voted no, that's what happens. I mean, that's in
Correct.
state law, unlike the CRA, like, it actually
just,
affects
yes,
the outcome.
the CRA, for whatever reason, and I don't know what the reason is, the CRA state didn't give the schools any rights for 15 years, 100%. With the TIFs, the school district has that right to essentially get compensation of some sort for anything above 10 years and anything above 75%. And that is what that compensation agreement provides is, hey, we've triggered those. And so let's work out a compensation arrangement that works for the school, the city, and the developer. And that's what the compensation agreement that we're proposing is.
And so the 28 house option. Then that's still proposed for what kind of TIF
There would not be a TIF for that.
at all?
No. Because there would not be any water extended, there wouldn't be any sewer extended. The reason you get to the 28 is you need to do the acre lots. Because you're not gonna have water, or you're not gonna have sewer, so you've gotta have lots large enough to do septic. And so not only does everybody get less money with that development, in addition to that, you don't have the water extended down 619. And you don't have the sewer extended down 619 that the city can then pick up and take to the western side of the channel. And be able to use up over there as well.
And then all the curves and stuff is just like regular old school development done with 28 houses.
Right.
Thanks.
Yep.
Anybody else?
All
Thank
right.
you so much for your
Thank you all
time.
very much. Yes.
Yeah.
Thank you.
Just have two more items. OPSI is going to meet on Monday to vote on the tentative agreement that we have. And I believe Thursday, the 26th, 9 a.m.
Yes.
Thursday, 9 a.m. We wanted to make sure everyone would be available or at least 3 of you would be available to attend that. The hope would be that we approve the OPSI contract after they ratify. There's a second reading of a policy that's on here today that we need to cover. And potentially, if you're ready to vote on the compensation agreement for the water line, we would have that on the agenda as well.
Thursday, the 26th.
If I get
There's
calendar right,
26.
is it the 26th?
Yes, because I said it wrong 3 times.
It's okay. And then the second one is to ask you to find a mutual date for our annual end of summer walkthrough. I was looking at potentially 2 dates that one I think would be of interest if you were available. August 14th is our new teacher orientation day. If you wanted to do it on that day, we could stop in and we could introduce you and you could meet all of the new teachers. Otherwise, August 15th would also be a good day, to make sure that we're done and we have all of the projects ready to go before the start of school.
Sorry, the first one was maybe the 14th.
The 14th, that's new teacher orientation, and then the 15th is just a Friday.
I'm good with the 14th.
I could make that. It's far enough in advance, not
Thursday.
hours, just like about 4 hours in advance, so.
What time on Thursday?
Or on the 14th of August, 8 o'clock.
Sure.
And then the new teacher orientation starts at 8:30. So we could stop in there on our way around. Okay, so we'll set that for the 14th at 8 AM and we'll start at the elementary school as we usually do.
And the special meeting will be in the treasurer's office.
Oh, I'm sorry, yes. Next Thursday will be in the treasurer's office. And those are all the items I have for district reports and special guests. Sorry.
I just checked my phone, just FYI, and my sister said there's tornado warnings everywhere currently in Talmadge. And my husband just said sirens are going off at Coventry. No sirens in Lakemore. Sounds like Talmadge, Mogador, and Brookfield may get hit.
So hope we hear those at the school.
In meetings. It's not, it just keeps on, it's one, it is.
You wanna go check?
Please.
Yeah.
Right, like, that's not waiting. Yeah.
Okay, if anybody here's a freight train duck.
You have to go down and put your head on the phone, do like the.
Do you
Can you
inside
do that?
walls?
Oh, yeah,
Go
the
down the
hallways
hallway
in front of the locker,
check your
yeah.
phone and all of that.
Got to shoot.
Now, see,
Yeah,
I
right.
don't remember when we actually had bomb.
That wasn't,
They actually had the radiation seals and stuff in the basement of the buildings. That's where we would go in case there was a nuclear attack.
Yeah.
That's how far back I go.
okay. All right, so are you done, George?
Yes, those are all very.
Fantastic. We don't have any citizen participation?
Laura, I have a conflict, and it was Thursday. If I could change it, I will, but I won't know until tomorrow. So that's a possibility.
What 10 o'clock we got it?
It's at 9:15 and then it's a doctor's appointment, we never know.
Is that tomorrow, Thursday, or the week?
I do want to bring that up.
All right. We have Board of Education comments. I'll start it. Carrie's up.
Yeah.
You have any comments, Carrie?
I have today, no, happy summer to everyone, safe.
Okay. You good too?
I'm fine. I just have more questions now about our water bank.
More questions?
Yeah.
We can talk this.
They're ones that all work.
Thank you so much. I will say, it was a nice end of the school year with all the festivities with all the graduates. That was pretty cool to be able to witness my kid graduating and also all the things that went along with it. So thanks to the high school and especially Mrs. Belknap. She was amazing and was treating everything for us. She did a good job. Okay, ready?
Everyone?
Well, do I have to do a motion? I have to do a motion, don't I?
What?
Well, you have to say your stuff first.
So item C, superintendent recommendations, certified personnel. Number one, I wish I could not share this with you, but unfortunately, we need to go through the resignations of these four individuals. So we have Dylan Engel, Megan DeLorme, Tiffany Rittenhour, and Leslie DeGuyer, who are resigning their positions with our district. Mr. Engel's going to Green, Ms. DeLorme's going to Copley, Ms. Rittenhour's going back to her district that she graduated from, Springfield, and Mr. Guyer is going to the Lake. Number 2 is rescind administrative contract. It's recommended the board rescind the 2-year administrative contract approved at the April 16th, 2025 Board of Education meeting. Number 3, supplemental contracts 2024-25. It's recommended the board grant the following CHS supplemental contract for the 24-25 school year. And as for Ms. Fallon, it's 4.5%. As she finished our yearbook, when we had a change in leadership there with the yearbook staff midway through April there. So she finished out the yearbook for the students. Number 4, CHS supplemental contracts 2025-26. It's recommended the board grant the following CHS supplemental contracts for the 25-26 school year per exhibit S1. Number 5, supplemental coaching contracts 2025-26. It's recommended the board grant or reissue the following supplemental coaching contracts for the 25-26 school year per exhibit S2 and S3. Non-staff contracts are contingent upon receipt of a clear record of a required background check. Number 6, employment, 1-year limited contract. It's recommended the board approve a 1-year limited contract for the 25-26 school year for the following individuals contingent on receipt of a clear record of required background checks and drug screening. This is in accordance with board and CEA agreement on the appropriate salary schedule. That's Ms. Conrad, who will be joining the middle school as an intervention specialist, and Mr. France, who will be joining the high school as a social studies teacher. And number 7, administrative contract. It's recommended the board grant a 2-year administrative contract to the following for the position indicated effective August 1st, 2025 through July 31st, 2027. And that's Ms. Talia Pavlich, who here is with us, and she'll be joining the middle school staff as our new assistant principal. One thing I can say, I was sold on Talia after about 5 minutes of the interview. Her energy, her excitement, it just exuded, and I think she's going to make a great leadership pair with Mr. Johnson to take over for the first time in 20 years, completely new leadership at our middle school. So welcome. Number 8 is extended. Oh.
We can vote. Yeah, we said the vote. Anything can happen.
That's okay. And I think I don't need to point this out, but she's coming back to us as she is a Coventry graduate. Number 8, extended time. It's recommended the board grant a supplemental contract for extended time to the following employee for the 25-26 school year, and that's Ms. Mackey. She's a 4-day-a-week employee, and she'll be using her Fridays, 20 days to cover speech evaluations at St. Francis de Sales. Number 9 is resignation. It's recommended that the board accept the following resignation and authorize the board president and treasurer to take all actions necessary to facilitate the resignation process. And those are all of the items under personnel certified.
Is there a motion to approve these recommendations?
So moved.
There's a lot of them, you can't see them. Look at the pictures.
Here.
What you're looking for? Peaceful. Yeah, or we just, we
Yeah,
watched this
so-
definition.
Yeah, what is the protocol now for hiring, like who's on the interview committees? How do we advertise for positions, all that kind of stuff now for different
For
positions?
teaching or
For coaching?
for coaching positions?
Yeah.
So we just recently, I produced best example, we posted for 10 days all of our coaching positions. All of our coaches responded and said if they and their staffs were coming back. Anyone that didn't, then we put together, Mr. Bogus puts together an interview committee, use, for example, our boys basketball position. That was Mr. Bogus, myself, and Mr. Shens, as we are the three administrators on staff that have experience coaching basketball.
Wait, and then how was that position advertised?
It was advertised with all of our positions.
I don't understand what you mean by all the positions. Like when I look, there's a lot of, I get a lot of emails Tina gave them posted.
Yeah.
And then it'll be a advertisement.
There was one that listed all of our fall and winter supplementals because spring was still going on. So it was a list of every single one of them.
When does that go out?
That was a process we changed because we hadn't typically been doing that. So we hadn't been getting a response from our coaches to have a record that they were coming back. So we did that. It would be towards the end of April, beginning of May, and it was posted for a 10-day period.
Yeah, I just literally looked and I didn't see it. So I'm gonna look again,
Okay,
literally.
I'll
like,
find you
right now.
forward to you.
So that was a listing for all of the coaching positions.
Yes.
And then all the internal candidates who already had the position and were interested in coming back.
Or anybody who's interested in any of the positions, yeah.
Okay, anybody, like in the district or outside of the district?
Yes, we're required by law to offer it to certified personnel first.
Okay, so you did like an internal posting for our certified personnel.
Mhm.
That's what you're saying.
For everyone, yeah.
For everyone inside the district.
Yes.
And then you get a list back.
Mhm.
Of the people who, whatever, who want to coach Connect. So he responded, said, yeah, I'm still interested.
And then we asked him to check with his assistants to make sure they were coming back too, so that we could start looking for new assistants if we needed to. So we did that for all of the sports.
Okay, so there's really no interview process for that.
For returners, no.
Okay, and then but for the new people, like the basketball coach, for instance.
Yeah.
So you're saying that whole list was one that Tina Gable posted at all of the positions?
Yes.
And that would just go to everybody like usual, right?
Yes, all users.
Okay, somehow like I'm not getting
I'll
that.
forward it to you.
Okay,
I'll find
do you have access to it right now?
I can look.
Possible somehow I don't know, I guess the only thing I could have done is delete it, or maybe it has like a different title. Or subject heading. For instance, on May 5th, I have one for the varsity assistant girls soccer. Standalone position, that's the only position advertised on that announcement.
I'm not sure what she posted this, I don't know what keyword to use, to search by email and find it.
Okay, for most of the postings, she just, I was posting. That's what I mean, unless there was something different about that one. And then, for instance, on May 6th, I have one that says coaching 8th grade volleyball. For that position.
Yeah, I'm looking for it, I can't find it right now. I can have her shoot it to you tomorrow. I'm just not seeing it in my email.
Would it be safe to say that every coach is fired at the end of every year unless the internal person says they would like the same job again?
All of our coaches work on a limited contract that expires automatically.
Automatically every year, so, yeah, so that's standard throughout all the schools, yeah. So everyone's basically fired unless you sign, you're gonna come back. No one says they wanna come back, then there will be an open.
So if the crux of your question is, we had 3 people apply for that position. And we researched the 3 and we chose the one that was most qualified.
For the basketball head,
Correct.
basketball coach we're talking about. Okay, so I'm looking at the one for coaching eighth grade volleyball, this posting specifically for that position. Coventry staff and outside applicants. And you're saying there's another one that goes out that has all of it, that has that basically the same two,
That's all of them on.
Coventry staff and outside applicants.
It went to, it had the attachment was every single supplemental for fall and winter.
Did anybody else on the school board see that notice posting?
I mean, are you saying I didn't send it?
No, I'm asking you to see if anybody else saw it.
Okay, well, you're accusatory, so I'm just asking.
Well, I'm asking people if they got it, and I'm asking you to provide
And I
it.
told you I'll provide it tomorrow, if I can't find it.
Okay, so I'm still like unclear. It's just, I'm not accusing anything. I'm just asking. So there's one that went out. The heading was to Coventry staff and outside applicants for every position.
I'll text Mrs. Gable now, and tell her to send it to me. I hopefully she gets this.
Geez, yeah, maybe we can follow up on this at the next meeting then, because we're not gonna have any time for this. Hold it up. Okay, Laura Pound. Thank you. Okay, this is to Coventry staff. Right, yeah, so it says the top two Coventry staff, coaching supplementals. And then you're saying, so in response to this, the internal people were using, yes, I'm still interested or not.
And we had no one respond to the basketball except for 3 external people.
Okay, but and that's what I'm trying to figure out, like how that was just as a general procedure. Do you see one for, or so somehow you found that one?
I'm looking.
Yeah, for just the basketball for external outside sources. Two specialists. I did find the CMS assistant principal position, however, posting. Here you go. Thank you for applying.
She found it.
Yeah. Somehow you saw that one too.
Yes.
Thank you.
I don't see another one that went to everyone.
Neither. Okay, so yeah, if you could just forward the one that went out specifically about basketball coaching position, I guess.
It wasn't a specific, it was all of the supplementals together. Is when we put that one out.
Okay, so Laura just, so this I'm just trying to understand. So Laura showed me that one. Thank you for finding out why I can find that one. But that just says Coventry staff. Doesn't say and outside applicants. And so it sounds like you're saying, but if somebody doesn't respond to one of these, like the basketball position, that you re-announce it
Then we start searching for someone.
to outside, okay, but do you announce it?
We announced it in that opening, in that posting, and that's where the 3 external people applied.
So somehow the 3 external people heard about it through the one that we sent for our internal
It's a
staff.
very popular position. There's a lot of potential on that basketball team, so the word got out. Even before we posted it, we were already getting interest in the position.
Okay, I can see this is. Okay, thank you for pointing that out. Appreciate it.
So another comment, I mean, you're looking at me, fun. Here's something that we need to discuss.
It seems like there should be like, again, for the middle school, whatever that volleyball coach or whatever, there is a specific announcement that went out to external candidates.
And there's a personnel issue that's not appropriate for public discussion that we could discuss in executive session, that I can explain more of that issue to you.
No, I'm just talking about the announcement process. It seems
It relates to the announcement process.
the whole process in general, there's a person, no, I mean, in general, I'm talking
Oh,
about,
not just that position.
exactly, I'm not talking about a position. I'm
I
talking about
misunderstood that. Apologies.
trying to understand how this district announces positions. In this case specifically, coaching positions. It seems like we should have a general protocol where I understand announcing it internally.
Aren't they posted on the website?
That's what we're trying to figure out right now.
So as I said, this particular posting had a personnel issue related to it that caused, I believe, the suspicion that you have and how we posted it. And we can talk about that in executive session. It's not appropriate for public discussion.
Okay. All right, sounds to me just kind of weird that we, again, generally that we don't really have a system for advertising, announcing positions externally if we don't have an internal candidate who was the previous thing. It would just be, I think we should have something that's, here's the rule. Here's how we announce positions. Internally, I get it. Then if they don't want the position, somebody got it last year's an internal candidate. And it seems like we should, it doesn't matter how many people have already preemptively contacted you about, hey, I'm interested in the position. It doesn't matter if 100 people did. Seems like we should still announce it to outside applicants to see who else, who maybe doesn't have an inside source, might be interested in that. And it sounds like we don't always do that.
This time, we had a different procedure related to a personnel issue that's not appropriate to talk about in public.
If this is advertising for a coach,
But based on the emails you've sent, this is about the basketball coaching position. So we might as well be obvious and say that it's about that position. Am I correct?
yes, we're trying to see how many applicants were interested in the position. It has nothing to do with personnel, has nothing to do with executive session. It's just how did we solicit applicants for an open position? There's nothing nefarious about it. There's no bad deeds.
Sent out that posting. That's what we did.
George, you keep saying the internal posting to internal applicants
Yet 3 external people applied.
through the internal posting.
They obviously. heard
Going
that.
forward, we'll post everything on Apple Tracker, no matter what.
If we're looking
That's our
forward,
external
if we're
source. That's
looking
our
to
external
fill
source.
position through external sources, we should post the position. I
You
think.
know the personnel issue that we're dealing with on this situation.
I
And
do.
that's why it was done differently.
Okay. Nothing great.
Do we want to keep the supplemental? Do we want to pull that out separately? Do we need to table something? No? Okay. Is there any other conversation? Any other questions? Any other? Other call?
Mr. Davis,
Yes.
Mr. Bowser,
Yes.
Mr. Hostetler,
Yes,
Mrs. Pat,
Yes.
and Mrs. McGraw.
Yes.
and now we collect it.
No.
Welcome.
Number 2, personnel classified, extended school year transportation. It's recommended the board employ the following OC personnel to provide extended school year services at their current rate of pay. That's bus driver exhibit S4 and bus attendant exhibit S5. Number 2 is employment. It's recommended that the board employ the following position indicated contingent upon receipt of a clear record of required background checks and drug screening. And that's Miss Linda Danko, 4.25 hours bus driver, effective 6/3/2025. I would just like to take a moment and share with you that Miss Danko has been a blessing to us, an incredible blessing. She came back to us and stepped in when we had a number of difficult situations with our our bus staff, our driver staffing. And she's coming willing to come back and take a regular route. That really is helpful to us. So if you run into Mrs. Danko, please help me and thank her and show her appreciation for coming back and really helping us out as we struggle, as you know, to find bus drivers. But in talking to Mrs. Smith today, as of now, we're set for our bus routes. So we at least have the breathing room to know that we have enough drivers to run the routes that we need to start the year. So that's a positive in this bus driver shortage that's going on in our state. The last one there is change in hours, buildings, and positions. It's recommended the board approve a change in the hours, buildings, and or positions for the following employee effective August 20th, 2025. And that's Ms. Thacker, who is moving from a 2.5-hour elementary lunch recess assistant to a 3-hour elementary lunch recess assistant. And those are all the items under personnel classified.
Is there a motion to approve these recommendations?
So moved.
Second.
Any comment, questions? Aldo?
Davis,
Yes.
Mr. Bowser,
Yes.
Mr. Hostetler,
Yes.
Mrs. Pat,
Yes.
and Mrs. McGraw.
Yes.
Number 2, other business items. Number 1, contract Kids Link School. It's recommended the board approve the contract with Summit ESC for one student to continue attending the Kids First Tops program for the 25-26 school year. The cost is $63,000 per year and will be paid for with general funds. We're anticipating 4 students for the 25-26 school year. The increase in numbers is the 2 new kindergarten students that will be attending their district. Number 2 is a contract with West Roofing. As a reminder, this was tabled, I believe in April. We tabled this one. Contract with West Roofing. It's recommended that the board approve the contract proposal for West Roofing Systems Incorporated for the repairs to the modular classroom roof at Coventry Middle School at a cost of $105,250. Number 3 is a contract with Alco. It's recommended that the board renew the 3-year contract with Alco beginning July 1st, 2025 and ending June 30th, 2028 for the purchase of custodial supplies for the district at the cost of $70,758.36. 4, 5, and 6 are all sort of related, as those are all related to the phone lines of the district. Number 4, contract AT&T. It's recommended the board renew the annual agreement with AT&T for Complete Link 2.0 CHS. This agreement will run from 6/1/25 to 5/31/2026. Number 5 is contract with AT&T. It's recommended the board renew the annual agreement with AT&T for ILEC centric service at CMS. This agreement will run from 6/1/25 through 5/31/26. Number 6 is a contract with AT&T. It is recommended the board renew the annual agreement with AT&T for business local calling essential service. This agreement will run from 6/1/25 through 5/31/2026. Number 7 is a contract with Gardner. It's recommended the board approve the contract with Gardner to furnish and install a cloud-based HVAC control system at Coventry High School at a cost of $45,910. As the note says, this is for, there are 2 items that are called JACEs that are the brains of our HVAC, and there's 2 of them that one controls half of this building, one controls the other half. They're both, unfortunately, even with the newness of this building, they're both obsolete. They're recommended for replacement. We had looked at Train originally, and Mr. Olson was able to become involved and work with Gardner to cut the price nearly in half to get these replaced. Number 8 is a contract with Pay Schools. It's recommended that the board approve the purchase agreement with I3 Pay Schools to provide the software for an online fee and charge payment system to begin July 1st, 2025 through June 30th, 2026 at an initial cost of $6,920. Noting there it will be an annual recurring cost for subscription in the amount of $3,340 beginning in the 2nd year. It's a general fund expenditure, and there is also one cost that's not in there. There's a transaction fee that the district will have to pay in addition for the opportunity for the electronic payment. And number 9 is an agreement with Mark Bindus. It's recommended that the board enter into an agreement with Mark Bindus at an annual amount of $24,000 for the 25-26 school year. I'd like to point out that Mr. Bindus is transferring from a regular administrator to a 1099 employee beginning this school year. Number 10, staggered start times CHS 25-26. It's recommended the board approve the following staggered start times for CHS effective with the beginning of the 25-26 school year. And this is to allow the freshmen that are new to the building to acclimate before the entire population of students are here. Number 11, student handbooks. It's recommended the board adopt the student handbooks for CHS, CMS, and CES for the 25-26 school year per exhibit S6. The major changes there are related to cell phone use, there's been more adjustments to cell phone use in districts, as well as some changes to the dress code at Coventry High School. Those would be the major points to point out there. Number 12 is Calamity Day Alternative Makeup Plan. It's recommended the board approve the resolution to adopt the Calamity Day Alternative Makeup Plan. This plan outlines the steps our district will take to ensure that our teachers are prepared if we should need to exercise the option of completing makeup days through online means for the 25-26 school year per exhibit S7. And the state a few years ago, I think it was 22, changed. These used to be called blizzard bags, and now they're called online days. So same process. It just gives us 3 days to make up if we have any sort of major calamity that would close school for a long period of time. Number 13 is deletion of inventory, Pupil Services Department. It's recommended the board approve the following deletion of inventory from the Pupil Service Department as listed in the table. Number 14 is deletion of inventory Curriculum Department. It's recommended the board approve the following deletion of inventory from the Curriculum Department as listed there as well. And last, number 15, revised policies and procedures. It's recommended that the board complete the first reading of the revised and or deleted policies and procedures for discussion only per exhibit S8. And this relates to changes in the SCRS requirements that brings our policies in line with the requirements for SCRS. And those are all of the items under other business.
Is there a motion to approve these recommendations?
So moved.
Second.
Discussion? Questions? Name your step, call the roll.
Mr. Davis,
Yes.
Mr. Bowser,
Yes.
Mr. Hostetler,
Yes.
Mrs. Taft,
Yes.
and Mrs. McGraw.
Yes.
A few items, evening under financial. It is recommended that the board grant the treasurer the authority to prepare and apply any transfers, advances, and expenditure adjustments necessary to close fiscal year 25. This exhibit will be posted after the fiscal year end. Item 2, it is recommended that the board approve the POs over 5,000 per exhibit T2. Number 3, it is recommended that the board accept and place on file the amended fiscal year 25 permanent appropriations, the request to amend the certificate of estimated resources, and the May 27, 2025 certificate of estimated resources for the fiscal year ending June 30th, 2025 per exhibit T3. Item 4, it is recommended that the board accept and place on file the amended fiscal year 26 temporary appropriation and the May 27, 2025 certificate of estimated resources for the fiscal year starting July 1, 2025 per exhibit T4. And item 5, it is recommended that the board approve the renewal contract with Liberty Mutual for property and liability insurance coverage starting July 1st through June 30th, 2026 per exhibit T5.
Is there a motion to approve these recommendations?
So moved.
Assembly
Check.
discussion?
Lisa, I don't have those copies of those attachments. Am I missing it somewhere?
They're in Word docs. You
I'm
can
in-
see them?
Yeah, I'm there, but
Yeah.
I did not see them.
They're not in. Word
They're not
docs?
in there. I reviewed them yesterday, so I'm good, but if anybody didn't have the time to look at them. They're not in there.
They're not in the, we're not logged in under our names, we're just logged in through the regular.
It shouldn't matter. They're all public.
Some of the attachments seem to be missing today.
Look.
They-
Should I have just a minute to look at you?
They're all right.
I'm gonna
I can show her, she can look on mine.
Well, I have them right here.
Are they on your view?
Oh,
Yeah.
yeah,
Just click on-
okay, see, when I clicked on it, it didn't. Yeah, can you forward it to me or anything, or not?
There, yeah.
It's all right.
She.
I'm sorry. That's okay.
Yes.
Thank you.
That's the key.
Want to run through them, but I-
Okay, well, that's mainly what I want to look at. Thank you, George.
At the bottom.
Yeah, they're not there. They were missing from the certified.
Log into your own accounts.
I didn't log in today, so I just reviewed them, the paper.
I looked at it
yesterday.
earlier today, but
Did you?
and didn't see it, but then I thought one would be here.
Like under your own account, it still wasn't there.
No, but I thought one would be here when we got here. It's really, I mean, it's okay, I just.
They're all there.
They're there and they're under public. Yeah, they're all under public file.
But I thought I couldn't print from here.
Yeah, you can, but you can.
You can go to it.
Word of it. Be right here. It's not.
Okay. It's okay, I can just, if there's nothing stands out, I trust you.
So weird.
I looked.
Okay,
I went to the
we
print
can
view,
go
it doesn't
ahead.
show, but it's on mine.
Well, I mean,
It's
maybe
up.
just throw over the POs, most of these are blanket POs to set up for next year, right?
Yes, we have quite an extensive list too of purchase orders this time. There's 3 pages, which is usual, but it is not unusual for the time of year. So most of them are utilities and blankets that we put in place to begin next fiscal year. So that's what the majority of these involve. let's see what- let's see what else. We,
It's okay, I mean, if there's something that stands out, I think someone would.
We
notice
went
it,
through them
but-
yesterday, we didn't see anything that was out of line that's normally on a June.
Yeah, well, I thought maybe it was waiting till your meeting was over. So who gets this back?
It's Laura's. I believe.
that would not. That was very strange. But you can see everybody else's attachments.
Certified personnel, I think there was supposed to be one, it was missing, but they were in classified and other business items. We had attachments.
It's just odd.
Yeah.
Very.
Okay, thank you.
Could you explain
Sorry to
about
hold up.
the audits, and different costs for audits and what's happening this year versus other years?
Absolutely. So for when it comes to audits of the district's finances, we always have a gap audit, which is done. You can select who to have that done by, which vendor or business. So for us, LGS has completed that since we went into fiscal emergency. So that's the gap audit. And the gap audit really is about making sure our practices and the general accounting principles are in place and updated and all that. It does include the financial piece of it, but it's more focused on practices and standard operating procedures. Where a financial audit is usually done by an independent auditing firm. We've used Subca for a very long time. But this next year, the actual auditor of state office will be in auditing our books, so that will be different. And they do that once every 10 years for school districts across the state. So they have a team that'll be out. It'll be more rigorous than normal. So we are anticipating that and the depth of the work that's gonna come along with that for this next year.
When does that happen?
they should send. Well, what they explained to me, because I was anxious to get their contract and have it in place before July 1. However, they will not send us that contract till August, and then it will begin, I'm sure, as soon as they can get scheduled. Starting as soon as possible, but it's for this current fiscal year, so even though they're gonna be working on it, as always, they've worked next year through the audits, but it's for the prior school year, fiscal year. So those are the two big ones, but we're audited constantly by different programs and overseers all the time. So for example, like federal grants, we undergo audits from that all the time. Right now, I have to complete one for, what's the latest? Student health and wellness funding. So that's the current one. We just went through a big gifted one. We're still currently undergoing one for food service. That. So there's a lot of them that take place like all the time. But the biggest ones are these two that are on the, this POs over 5,000. Awesome. So Zupka will be replaced. Well, hopefully if all goes well. Now that the state can still defer to an independent auditor if they should choose to do so, like if they have too much on their plate and don't have enough people to get out there and do that for them, they can still defer to the independent auditors. Or just kind of waiting. See what the final determination is.
We have post questions. I see that I didn't see this yesterday when we were in our pre-board meeting, but under pouring for the stadium sound speakers. So we're getting a new sound system for the fall. Yes,
I believe the works.
sound system for the
I missed the
Football,
beginning of the
for the
question.
football or for the sound. Underground boring at the stadium for sound system speakers.
Yes, we're working on, so that the proposal is to put speakers on both sides to make it easier, because we've been trying to do it with one and it hasn't been working.
Correct.
To run the lines underneath, and then we'll bore under and, we'll also have access then if we have to run anything else underneath the field in the future. Kind of future proof it.
Okay, any other questions? Paul?
Okay. Mr. Davis,
Yes.
Mr. Bowser,
Yes.
Mr. Hostetler,
Yes.
Scott,
Yes.
and Mrs. McGraw.
Yes. Okay. Okay.
Yeah.
You like to read the words?
We are. Are we? Okay, is there a motion to, we have to read it first?
Yeah.
Number one. So, yeah,
Can I just read
No.
it? I haven't already caught it right here.
Yeah.
So this is the Board of Education recommendations. So number one is recommended that the board approve the amendment to the superintendent's contract to ensure ongoing compliance with federal tax laws, specifically Internal Revenue Code Section 414H, and guidance from the state teachers retirement system as outlined in Exhibit B1. And then the second recommendation is virtually identical to first, but is for the treasurer's contract.
So those attachments are also not in there. They're not in there. Do you have a hard copy? I've reviewed them already. I understand it, but for anybody that hasn't seen them. Should have brought it up there.
I did. I have a copy. Which one do you want?
You have hard copies? Yeah, very
They
nice.
look the same. You can keep
I've
on.
already looked at them. You looked at it.
Yeah. You look in that board file, the pen book right there, that black folder, there we have something.
Do you want to explain those?
Yeah, let's have George explain. We don't really, we need to read the whole thing.
I don't think we need to read them, but there's a good explanation of why they're recommending this.
Should I
Hmm.
take a shot at it?
Yes.
Okay. There is current proposed legislation at the state that would take away benefits that we are providing contractually to our superintendent and treasurer related to retirement. It seems that the state legislator is trying to deflect superintendent's treasurers efforts away from fighting some of the funding things by trying to attack their compensation as part of the contracts. It's related to retirement incentives that are paid by the board. So these resolutions protect us so that we can fulfill our obligations to their current contracts.
Okay,
Does that kind of make sense?
it does.
Okay.
Yeah.
Doesn't cost the district anything
Correct.
more, it's the, yeah,
Yeah, it's no net cost to us.
we
Mhm.
just would have to comply with that.
If we didn't do
If
it,
it
then
passes.
we would be out of compliance because then there would be a reduction in their salary.
We wouldn't be able to enforce the current contract.
But they wouldn't override ours, or do we need to do the process to avoid that?
That's what this is. These are contract amendments.
Okay,
Mhm.
so we can do that on our own, but theirs doesn't override ours.
Correct. Yep,
Thank you.
until they realize what's happening and then they find out a way to do it, but we'll work around that when that time comes.
Okay,
Hopefully that time doesn't come.
Yeah,
would you just, at your convenience, send me a copy of the things that I'm missing, just
Yes,
even in an email is fine.
okay.
Thank you. Thanks, Josh.
sure.
I didn't ask for a motion to approve that recommendation.
That's fine. We can do it now.
Can we have a motion to approve the recommendations for these two?
So moved.
Second.
And then we had our discussion.
Yep.
Sorry.
What's possible?
Mr. Davis?
Yes.
Mr. Bowser?
Yes.
Mr. Hostetler?
Yes.
Mrs. Pat?
Yes,
And Mrs. McGraw?
Yes.
There's one more. You get that?
The board resolution, oh, for the buses.
Mhm.
So that's it. Do you wanna, explain that about the busing?
Sure. Item 3, it is recommended that the board approve the resolution to purchase school buses through cooperative bidding with Ohio School Council for Exhibit B3. So this is related to, it's a board resolution. It's kind of like an app. I'll say after the fact, but it is in its essence, kind of a formal notice that we are going to participate in a cooperative purchasing initiative with Ohio Schools Council. Now, we are already a member of Ohio Schools Council, which gives us access to any cooperative bidding they do, group purchasing, to help reduce costs and or things that on our own would cost a lot of money. So based on the presented school bus plan, replacement plan that we reviewed a few months ago, several months ago, and the funding available at this point, we wanted to move forward with helping and providing those 2 new buses to replace some of the ones that are older and ready to come offline. So the opportunity came available because Ohio School Council did have a bid out. And so this is us acknowledging that, and joining that process formally.
With the intention that we'll be buying 2 buses
Purchasing 2 buses.
next fiscal year. Or this fiscal year.
It'll be next fiscal year, so in July.
July. Okay, well, we should have probably motioned to approve that recommendation first.
Again, yeah.
Yeah.
Second.
And then discussion. Problem.
Mr. Davis. Yes. Mr. Bowser. Mr.
We do
Hostetler.
Yes.
Mrs. Pat
yes.
and Mrs. McGraw.
Yes. Okay, so now we're done through all of that stuff. We would like to go into executive session. did you say for number one? For, the reason for this meeting is the appointment, employment, dismissal, discipline, promotion, demotion, and compensation of an employee or official, or the investigation of charges or complaints against an employee, official, license, or student, unless the employee, official, licensee, or student requests a public hearing. There will be no, action taken, during the meeting, and then we are, as I said, executive. No action will be taken during the meeting, and then there'll be nothing after. Is there a motion to enter into executive sessions?
So moved.
Second.
Davis,
Yes.
Gonzalez,
Yes.
Hostetler,
Yes.
yeah.